Bro, it gets worse. Former Israeli Minister of Knesset quotes Hitler while discussing the Gaza war. He has a whole segment on his Wikipedia dedicated to his Hitler statements? Totally and utterly inadequate. Starmer says the world cannot allow Gaza to starve. We're going to talk about the international community's response. What's really interesting about all of this is that, like, they are finally arriving at least the optics front. Like, they're becoming Erdogan. They're hitting the Erdogan technique where they just start talking about Israel in a mean way and even aesthetically claim that they are going to implement a blockade against Israel while simultaneously still offering all of the military support necessary to Israel. Minister of Health calling Zara Sultana so cheap for saying the UK should stop selling weapons to Israel.
Between October and December 2024, the government approved over £127 million in export licenses to Israel, exceeding the combined total under the Tories for 2020 to 2023.
You want to know something crazy? There's a comparison I'm going to make here as well to Israeli society, or at least like some outspoken people in Israeli society right now. These are the people, the Zara Sultanas and the Jeremy Corbyns of the world, are the people that are desperately trying to preserve the soul of these countries. A lot of these animals don't understand that. They are so invested in their completely distorted worldview that revolves around might is right politics, where there is no right and no wrong. The only thing that is correct is whatever we say goes, that they don't understand that in the process of scolding these people, they are once again dehumanizing themselves. These are the last people that are desperately trying to claw back some semblance of humanity for the Western world. A humanity that we do not deserve to be associated with, by the way. We are barbaric animals. And that's precisely what's going on in Israel as well. The reason why I make this comparison is because I saw another like idiotic Hasbara account, I think it was like Neo something, post these the succession, these articles in a negative fashion. Not realizing that these articles that she's posting negatively are unironically on the morally correct side. But she doesn't realize that. And I think actually she might have realized that and deleted it. Nope. Here it is. Haaretz, ladies and gentlemen, Neo Berg posts, possibly the most famous Iranian Jew on X, advocates for Iranian monarchy and restoration, Iranian monarchy restoration in Israel, anti-woke. She posted the succession, these article titles, as a negative. If you are a Jewish Israeli, you are complicit in the killing of 53,000 Palestinians, from Odeh Bizharat. Gideon Levy writes, stop calling it a Gaza war. Stop being a part of Netanyahu's genocidal legacy. Alon Idan, destroying Gaza with love. Israel's new yogi Nazis. That last one is about specifically the holistic yoga lovers in Israel that are firmly committed to the genocide. They are basically neo-Nazis that love, they're crunchy granola neo-Nazis. Can you imagine posting this as a negative? Like, how oblivious are you to the way the world fucking views Israel that you literally post some of the only saving grace in Israeli society as a negative, with the assumption that your audience is also going to respond to it like it's negative? This, to me, demonstrates how far gone you are in your worldview, how invested you are in your worldview, where nothing at all can change your trajectory. Like, can you imagine looking at the last bastion, the last hope, the last redeemers of Israeli society in any way, shape, or form, looking at that and then turning around and being like, F these losers, they're a bunch of capos, the capo newspaper. Look, that's the first response. Insane. Golan, Israel becoming a pariah state, is killing children as a hobby, from the Times of Israel. Yair Golan, the head of the opposition Democrats, issues a scathing denunciation of the government and the war in Gaza, saying that Israel is killing children in Gaza as a hobby. There are at least liberal Zionists who understand how bad this looks to the Western world, so they're trying to massage the narrative to basically have something redeemable. Now, I don't put the other three article writers in the same degree here, okay? I need you to understand something. This is very different than what I showed you. What I showed you earlier, these guys, they have a different mindset. they do actually have redeemable opinions, especially Gideon Levy. I might not agree with them the entire way, but it doesn't matter. They do have like at least clearly from what I read, what I saw bits and pieces of this article and what I know of Gideon's perspective. I'm not entirely familiar with Ode Bizharat, but like the article title stands alone. Like those guys they're correct. Yair Golan, on the other hand, is doing this as a mechanism of propaganda as well. Like he is literally saying like we've gone too far. You know what I mean? There is a number of baby murder that is appropriate. We've just gone above and beyond that, and now people hate us. We've become a pariah state. We are becoming a pariah state, not realizing that you already are a pariah state. Israel is on the way to becoming a pariah state. It already is, like South Africa was. If we don't return to acting like a sane country, the left-wing leader, a former IDF deputy chief of staff, says in an interview with the Com public broadcaster. And a sane country does not fight against civilians, does not kill babies as a hobby, and does not give itself the aim of expelling populations, he says. The government is full of vengeful types with no morals, no ability to run a country in a time of crisis. This endangers our existence, Golan says. I suspect he got a lot of pushback for this statement, which is already like bare minimum. You know what I mean? It's a day late, a dollar too short, and yet still this is considered completely unacceptable in Israel. Knesset debate reveals not everyone thinks starving Gazan children is a bad thing. Here's another article headline that I wanted to show you. From 40 Babies hoax to this bookend. Moshe Feilin on Channel 14. Every baby in Gaza is an enemy. Every baby in Gaza is an enemy. The enemy is not Hamas. We need to conquer Gaza and colonize it and not leave a single Gazan child there. There is no other victory. Prominent Judeo-Nazi maniac Moshe Feiglin on another genocidal rant this morning on Channel 14. No society is monolithic. Every society has discourse. Every society has back and forth. There's always going to be a diversity of opinions. But in Israel, the diversity of opinion revolves around how much genocide and what kind of weapons you can use. How much starvation is appropriate. It's not about real conversation surrounding the notion that we shouldn't be doing an occupation at all. We shouldn't be starving children at all. What the fuck are we doing? It's more so, is it okay to starve all of the Gazan children? Or can we at least like maybe give them one plate of food and one slice of bread for the day as we kill them over and over again? That is the real debate happening in Israel. It is completely cooked as a society. Of course, it's a pariah state. They've lost their goddamn minds. Israel is also terrifying because it resembles America's future if left unchecked. If people don't currently wisen up to the way that the Trump administration is moving, we are going to become Israel very shortly. It's already beginning, and we're ironically using Israel as a mechanism to bring Israel here. Fuck. Here, look, if you want to hear what some other incredible takes are coming out of Israel, let's take a look. I'll tell you more than that. Every child, every baby in Gaza is an enemy. It's so funny to me, even though it's obviously gross and terrifying and horrible, all of the worst things. Like if you feel like you hate Israel, let me tell you, you don't hate Israel hard enough. There's no amount of hatred that's hard enough. I will just say that. But on the other hand, there's something really dark, but also ironic and somewhat funny about the fact that like in Israel, they openly are entertaining this stuff, right? And in America, when you say they're openly entertaining this stuff in Israel, you get branded a fucking anti-Semite. It's so weird. It's like, but they're saying it. Like, what do you mean? I'm just reporting on what they said. No, in order to be a defender of Jewish people, you have to literally close your eyes and shut off your ears and bite your tongue and not say the truth about what the is going on in Israel. They've lost their fucking minds, okay? A truly and utterly depraved society. Of course they have to be truly and utterly depraved at this point. They're doing a fucking genocide for 19 months. You can't maintain a genocide for 19 months on an outgroup without a healthy dose of dehumanization propaganda that has the set in. That has to be an incredibly important part of your identity. Think about how much people freaked out about that one dude in Hamas on the, I think he was like the Lebanese branch guy who was like, because of what Israel has done to us, 1 million October 7s is justified against Israel, right? He said that shortly after October 7, and everyone was like, this is genocide. This is genocidal. Okay, there's been 19 months of genocide, and every single Israeli politician at this point, with the exception of like 3, have literally been like, it's a genocide and it's good, and we need to do genocide specifically to the fucking babies. Previously, there are plenty of people in this community that would probably tell you that previously, like Jewish members of this community especially, would tell you that in the past, like 2 years ago, or even like a couple months into what Israel was doing in Gaza, if I were to compare it to the Nazis, or if I were to compare what's happening in Gaza to the Holocaust, there would be a lot of people that would be like, oh, that's a bridge too far, I think. Now, you won't hear anybody respond to that in a negative fashion. Everyone will say, no, this is it's not a one-to-one comparison in terms of like the total numbers, but that is precisely what's going on. It is a mechanized death camp. It is mechanized death, just like the Holocaust was, and it's happening in an open-air prison that is now turned into an open-air death camp. Now think, why is it that the public sentiment has changed this dramatically? It's because people realize what's going on, and that's also part of the reason why. Because look at this dipshit. Every child, every baby in Gaza is an enemy, he says. That's the reason why the UK is at least trying to aesthetically present themselves in opposition to what Israel is doing, while still calling it a fucking war, by the way. Bro, it gets worse. Former Israeli Minister of Knesset quotes Hitler while discussing the Gaza war.
Five minutes later. 2 hours later.
As Hitler said, I can't live if one Jew is left. We can't live here if one Islamo-Nazi remains in Gaza. He has a whole segment on his Wikipedia dedicated to his Hitler statements. He has said something like this more than once. His Hitler comments are, I'm sorry, what? Feiglin has openly stated that though he is not opposed to peace, peace is not his goal, and would not be on top of his agenda as prime minister. Rather, his focus on reforming Israel as an essentially Jewish state by acting on several campaigns on the religious, social, and legal and security fronts. Yeah, he said that, by the way, back in I guess he said it in when? June 16th, 2024. This is what dude, I'm serious. I mean, like, look, people say like, this is an edge case or whatever, right? Like this is an edge case. It's not like what Benjamin Netanyahu or other prominent members of the fucking security cabinet or the governing coalition are saying something that different. They just don't like directly say Adolf Hitler said this and it's good, but they sound like Adolf Hitler. There is a link to Hitler comments of this guy. Oh my God. In an article in Haaretz, Yossi Sarid quoted Feiglin in context of demonstrations against the Oslo Accords as saying, Hitler was an unparalleled military genius. Nazism promoted Germany from a low to a fantastic physical and ideological status. The ragged, trashy youth body turned into a neat and orderly pact of society, and Germany received an exemplary regime, a proper justice system, and public order. Hitler savored good music. He would paint. This was no bunch of thugs. They merely used thugs and homosexuals. Feiglin clarified his position to the Ma'ariv newspaper that just because he considers Hitler a military genius, this does not mean he admires him. He was banned from Britain. I mean, I guess at least he's honest. Like, I don't know. I mean, he's right here. He's saying babies in Gaza are my enemy. Like, this is his quote. So is it all that crazy for him to also be like, yeah, and Hitler actually was a figure worthy of admiration? Like, is that strange for him to say? Is it really? When you think about it, is it really that crazy for this guy to admire Adolf Hitler? Yeah, he's Jewish. Yeah, he's in Israel. Yeah, his immediate family members most likely were executed by Adolf Hitler in the Holocaust. So you're like, how do you live in this situation? Like, how do you live with yourself is, of course, something that you can think about, but it's like after a steady dose of dehumanizing propaganda where you dehumanize yourself, it's understandable where he's just kind of looking at it and being like, fascism is awesome. Is he an elected official? Yes. Oh, he's not anymore? He almost was? Wait, I thought he was a part of Likud initially. Was he not a part of the Knesset when he was in Likud? He was from Likud. I don't think he is any longer. He's a former minister of the Knesset, but he was in the Knesset. And now he's the head of the Zehud party, the identity party, which is like the libertarian one, right? Which is really funny. Yes, the libertarian party. I love the libertarian party being like, as a libertarian, Adolf Hitler is a figure worthy of much admiration. Yeah, I saw in the Wikipedia it said he was a part of the Likud and the Knesset from 2013 to 2015, and then swapped over to the Libertarian Party. Are people actually this knowingly fascist? Like they recognize how fascist they are? Dog. One of the parties in the governing coalition that has members in the war cabinet is literally called the Jewish Power Party. Okay, you know how like they have white power party? Like imagine it's called the Jewish Power Party. It's like half of, Otzma Yehudid. It is, no they don't? Yes they do. What the are you talking about? No they don't. That is literally the name of Itamar Ben-Gvir's party. What the are you talking about? No they don't. What is happening here? Why are you denying reality that is one Google search away where you were like, it's so objectionable, this must not be true? No they don't. Yeah, Israelis literally admit they're fascists in New York Times interviews. Like, this happened not that long ago. In New York Times interview with a West Bank settler, she proudly admits that she is a fascist. There's something, I can admit there's something fascist about me. I'm not hiding it. I don't believe there's any other way.
Your uncensored lack of political correctness definitely shocked me.
No, it's not an old ass video. This is after October 7th. I think she went down there to fucking interview some of these goddamn settlers, like freaks. Zionism, especially in this modern iteration of Zionism, is impossible to contend with as anything but Nazi ideology. That's it. You can fantasize about a different kind of Zionism, but like if Albert Einstein recognized that that version of Zionism did not exist in 1948, how the are you 77 years later still fantasizing about it? Like Albert Einstein was like, yeah, no, this is some fascist bullshit. We got to stop. Either you have a perfectly peaceful binational commitment to living alongside the indigenous population, or you're a fucking Nazi. And now when you say that in 2025, people go, huh, what do you mean? I can't believe you're saying that. Bezalel Smotrich yesterday was flexing. He was flexing at a press conference being like, we are literally committed to the ethnic cleansing of every Gazan, and the world has yet to stop us. That's what he said. He said that. The European Union has officially agreed to review its trade agreement with Israel due to the worsening humanitarian situation in Gaza. They don't think it's enough that they're allowing like one or two fucking trucks to enter into the Gaza Strip. And they are finally deciding to posture aesthetically against the events that are unfolding, against the genocide, without calling it a genocide. This is the first step. It might be far too late at this point. I welcome any step in the correct direction. But 19 fucking months, dude. Jesus Christ. By the way, this is exactly what happened with South Africa. The West was fully on board with apartheid until it was a political burden. Now, most people think the West was always anti-apartheid. Apartheid probably would have ended earlier if it were not for the US and UK. Yup. Does Israel have to let in humanitarian aid to Gaza? Survey. Israeli Channel 13 News. 53% no. 34% yes. 13% don't know. This, by the way, is a survey conducted on the Israeli Jewish Society and Israeli Palestinian citizens of Israel as well. Their designation, not mine. So when those numbers are 53% no, I would love to see what the demographic breakdown of that is. Yeah, Moin Rabbani, as he points to, this is all symbolic. After 19 months of genocide, Great Britain has decided it needs to send an unambiguous message to Israel. The accelerated delivery of weapons from Britain to Israel, initiated by the Starmer government, to enable the intensified mass slaughter of Palestinians will continue without interruption. So will the import of illegal products from illegal settlements that sustains the illegal Israeli occupation. But London will pause negotiations with the genocidal apartheid state about a UK-Israel free trade agreement. The Starmer government will continue giving Israel everything it needs to continue with the genocide and apartheid, but make a performative gesture of punishing Israel by withholding from it something that has not been provided. The unambiguous message: keep up the fantastic work. We've got your back. Too clever by half. Pure smoke and mirrors. The reason why they're even issuing this statement in and of itself is important, though, because the reason why they're issuing this statement implies that they want to, at least on the propaganda front, sever ties with the seemingly unconditional support that they've offered Israel. It's a step in the right direction. They're trying to save face, but the very fact that they recognize that there is face saving that must be done implies that more good things could happen in the future. That's all I'm saying. I'm just explaining to you that obviously this is not going to be a real game changer in the short term. It's not going to be possibly a game changer in the long term, but it is somewhat positive because it moves the needle in the appropriate direction. Israel becoming this toxic, repulsive pariah state in the eyes of the politicians is a little different than Israel becoming a toxic, repulsive pariah state in the eyes of the public. Because at the end of the day, given that we do not have a real democratic process in the Western world, it is just a sham, a mockery, as we have found out, as it's in full display. That sham is in full display with the direct difference in opinion from the broader public on this issue versus our politicians on this issue. The very fact that the politicians are playing catch up here, even if it's for aesthetic reasons, implies that more reckoning could come down the line.
As Cindy McCain said last week, and I quote, "Families in Gaza are starving while the food they need is sitting at the border." That is a gross violation of both U.S. and international law. What did you do? Nothing. Not once did you publicly call upon the Netanyahu government to end the blockade. Fortunately, other countries spoke out, and now we see a tiny trickle going in.
Why always the Netanyahu government? Because our institutions are comprised of fucking cowards who don't want to say the truth. And yes, that also means Bernie Sanders. This is part of the reason why I'm actually frustrated with Bernie Sanders. The reason why I'm frustrated with Bernie Sanders is because he should be leading the charge on this. He should be giving his colleagues the courage and the permission to say the fucking truth, to make Americans understand our direct involvement in this. And he says all of the right things, and he also pushes the conversation in the right direction, but he won't entertain the notion of it being a genocide, and he won't entertain the notion of this being anything but Netanyahu's own personal agenda.
As many of you know, the Netanyahu government of Israel has killed more than 50,000 people in Gaza. I will be forcing votes in the Senate on 2 joint resolutions of disapproval, which will block almost $9 billion in U.S. arms sales to Netanyahu.
Bernie Sanders occupies a very important space in the Senate as the most popular senator, the most popular politician. If he was leading the charge on this, especially as a prominent Jewish figure in American politics, I think there would be more American politicians that would demonstrate the courage necessary to say the truth.